Hello everyone and welcome to yet another video from VNA classes, and in this video we will be discussing about the human brain. As you all know, human brain is a very important organ in our body and is responsible for all the control and coordination that happens in our body. It is situated in the cranial cavity and weighs around 1.5 kgs in a normal adult human being. Okay, so now let's see what are the parts of a human brain. Classically, the brain is divided into three parts, that is, the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. Okay, but for learning purpose, we divide brain into various lobes. Okay, before going into the lobes, first we should see the basic terminology that is used with the brain. So these elevations that you see in the brain, these elevations are called as the gyrus, and the depressions in between these depressions are called as the sulcus. After learning this terminology, let's come to the lobes of the brain. The brain is divided into four lobes. Okay, the foremost is called as the frontal lobe. The pink colored area, as you can see, is the frontal lobe and is mainly concerned with the thinking and motor activity. Okay, behind the frontal lobe, the blue colored region that you see is the parietal lobe, and it is concerned with all the sensory inputs from all over the body. Below the parietal lobe, as you can see, the light brown colored is the temporal lobe, and it is mainly concerned with the speech and hearing. And at the back of the head, we have a small portion which is called as the occipital lobe, which is represented in green color. Okay, so now let's see all these lobes and their functions one by one. If you find this video useful, don't forget to press the like button. So let's start with the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is divided into many areas which have specified functions. The first area in the frontal lobe is called as the primary motor area, and it is concerned with all the muscular contraction. The second area in the frontal lobe is the premotor area, and this is the area where the raw plan of all the actions and activities that you are going to take place will be made. Okay, the third area of the frontal lobe is called as the frontal eye field, and frontal eye field is concerned with the lateral gaze, and the control of frontal eye field is contralateral. So left side of the frontal eye field will control the right gaze. Okay, so if left side of the brain is damaged, you won't be able to gaze on the right hand side. The fourth area in the frontal lobe is called as the prefrontal area, and it is concerned with attention, emotions, and the social behavior. So, any damage in this prefrontal area will lead to abnormal social behaviors such as overeating or beating someone or using abusive language. Okay. The fourth area in the frontal lobe is called as the Broca's area, and Broca's area is concerned with the speech in human body. And the fifth and the final area is called as the paracentral area, and this area in the frontal lobe decides the time and place of urination. Okay, so because of this area, you are able to control the urge of urination till the time you reach home. Okay, if there is any damage to this area, there will be abnormal urination at inappropriate places and times. So now let's see the second lobe, that is the parietal lobe. So just like frontal lobe, parietal lobe is also divided into various areas. The most important area in the parietal lobe is the primary sensory area. All the sensations from our body, whether it be of pain, temperature, pressure, vibration, all these sensations will be carried to this primary sensory area in the parietal lobe. Okay. Second important area in the parietal lobe is called as the angular gyrus. Angular gyrus is concerned with calculation, reading, writing, and naming of the fingers. Okay. The third important area is the inferior lobe, and it is concerned with the skillful movement. Okay, so now let's see the third lobe, that is the temporal lobe. So what are the important areas in the temporal lobe? The first is called as the Wernicke's areas. Wernicke's areas is responsible for understanding the speech. Okay, so whenever somebody says something to you, Wernicke's area is responsible for the comprehension of that speech. Second important area is the medial temporal lobe, and it is concerned with converting short-term memory into a long-term memory. Third important area is called as the fusiform gyrus, and this area is responsible for recognition of faces. All the familiar faces that you are able to recognize is because of fusiform gyrus. The fourth important area is insular cortex, and it is responsible for the smell. And the fifth important area is the orbitofrontal cortex, which is concerned with the taste. Okay, so these are all the parts of temporal lobe. Then we'll see the last lobe, which is occipital lobe, and it has only one function, that is vision. So after having read about all the functions of various lobes, let's come to the hindbrain portions. We have already covered midbrain and the forebrain. So hindbrain consists of the parts that you can see in this diagram: the pons, the medulla, and the cerebellum. Okay, so important things that you need to remember are the functions of medulla and cerebellum. So medulla is concerned with vomiting. So vomiting center is located in the medulla. Second important function of medulla is the regulation of heart. And the third important function that you need to remember about medulla is the salivation. Okay, production of saliva is in control of the medulla. Okay, these are the three functions that you need to remember about medulla. Then we come to cerebellum. Cerebellum is concerned with posture maintenance, balance in our body, and a third thing is fine motor movements. Okay, so it is concerned with regulation of all the motor activities that take place. For example, if you want to pick up a pen, it is cerebellum that makes sure that your hand goes exactly to the pen and doesn't overshoot or undershoot. Okay, so these are the functions of medulla and cerebellum that you have to remember. Now let's see how our human brain is protected. Since it is such an important organ, it's very necessary for the brain to have a protection. Okay, so there are many layers of protection for a human brain, and you can remember all the layers with the mnemonic scalp. So what are these layers? S stands for skin, then C stands for the connective tissue, A stands for aponeurosis. Aponeurosis is nothing but modified tendon. Okay, so modified tendon of muscles also form a part of the scalp. The fourth layer is the loose areolar tissue, and the fifth layer is the periosteum, which is the outer covering of the bone. Okay, so the skull bone has the outer covering, which is called as the periosteum. So these five are the outer protective layers for a brain. Then inside the periosteum also, the brain is protected by means of meninges. Okay, so these are the coverings of the brain, and they are divided into three layers: the pia mater, the arachnoid, and the dura mater. So you can remember with the mnemonic of PAD. Okay, pia mater is the closest to brain and dura mater is the farthest away. P for pia mater, A for arachnoid, and D for dura mater. Even after this, there is an additional layer of protection between arachnoid and the pia mater. This space is called as the subarachnoid space, and this subarachnoid space contains the cerebrospinal fluid, also called as the CSF. So the CSF is a fluid that keeps circulating all around the brain, and it acts as a shock absorber. Okay, so these are all the layers that are present in our body for the protection of human brain. So that's all you need to understand about the human brain, its function, and its protective covering. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, do click the subscribe button to never miss any video from VNA classes, and don't forget to click the bell icon.